I've been attending North Star Church for a little over a year now. And David asked me to come this morning and share my testimony with you guys, just to talk a little bit about my life and what the Lord has done in my life. And so I'm overwhelmed just, for the opportunity to do that, just for... I'm honored, basically, that I would be asked to talk to you guys, and also just thinking back about my life and what the Lord has done in my life over the last couple of days since He asked. It's just very overwhelming to me to think about, just where He's brought me from. So I'm just going to start from the beginning. I was raised in a Christian home. I feel very blessed to come from godly dad and mom's side of the family, grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles, all Christian people. So, that was now I know that was a huge blessing in my life. So I grew up knowing about Jesus, accepting Him at a young age. But, like life is, things happen in my life, things that hurt me, things that confuse me, things that I didn't understand. And I got... through being hurt, I got confused. Things got distorted in my mind about, where love came from. God put inside of me a desire to love Him. That's one of the best things that He did for me, as far as all the blessings He's given me. I mean, He gives it to all of us. He gives us a space inside of us that longs for Him. So He gave me that, and like I said, through the course of my life, that got... What sin does with what God means for good, it perverts it and distorts it, and that's basically what happened to me. I got some things out of, distorted. And so I knew I wanted to serve Jesus, but I also was attracted to the things of the world. As I got older, I was mischievous, and I wanted to find out, about all these things I wasn't supposed to do. I wanted to know what those things were like. And I wanted to know why I wasn't supposed to do these things. Like, why am I not allowed to do these things? Because it must be fun. It must be something if I'm not supposed to do it, right? So as I continued with sin, basically, I was looking for the good things God had for me in the wrong places. The regret that I have in that is that I've spent about half of my life basically trying to fill this thing that God put in me for Him with everything else that I could find. So I did that as a teenager, through my 20s, and basically now that I look back at it, I realize that the way that God has been in my life, He has allowed me to, he doesn't force His will on me. He allows me to follow my own will. And I see that the whole time that He was with me, that He loved me, but that He wasn't going to force Himself on me, that He was going to let me find Him on my own. So when I finally got to the end of that, it was when I turned 30, 2006, I got to a place in my life where everything that I had tried, to make myself happy, to find, life, it just didn't work, and I just finally came to the conclusion that I was basically, it says in the Bible that sin leads to death, and for me it was a spiritual death that I had. It was just not being able to be happy, not being able to function, just being pure, in misery. I couldn't stand myself. I couldn't stand who I was anymore, and I couldn't deal with it. So, I sincerely asked God to come into my life and to change my life. And I believe that I was a Christian the whole time and that God was with me the whole time, but I wasn't, doing what I needed to do to be in the right relationship with Him. So, from that time on, since then, He has been restoring me back to Him, and it wasn't an instantaneous process for me. It wasn't like the next day I was, super Christian. It was just that I was able to start getting back to, the things. And the things that I've learned from this whole experience in my life is that all those things I wasn't supposed to do, I thought it was just because I wasn't supposed to have any fun. But I realize now that it was just like any father, those things were not what was going to be good for me. Those things were not going to make me happy. Those things were not safe for me to do, So, and I hate that it took me so long to figure that out, because I feel like I spent, half of my life figuring that out. But at the same time, it took those things to get me, to where I am today. And I'm still figuring things out. It wasn't until it's been the last few years that I've started to get a grasp on what God's grace means to me. I thought that for a long time I thought God's grace meant that I don't have to go to hell, and then if I have a second chance to try to be good and try to earn my way into His grace. And I'm starting to understand that that's not what it means. To me, what it means is that that Jesus basically took my sins, so that because the law was not going to work, I was not going to be able to keep the law. So if I can embrace that, then I want to do the right thing. But I know that even in my own power, I can't do the right thing. Only through the Holy Spirit and only through Christ am I able to do right, and that's still not going to be all the time. So it's just, like I said, it's an evolving understanding. And I'm super grateful. Like I said, even though I regret what I've been through, I'm super grateful because God doesn't waste any hurt. He doesn't waste anything that happens in our lives. And He has totally used all the bad stuff that I've been through for me to be able to use that to help other people, because people, bad stuff happens. When sin entered the world, people got hurt, So He uses the things that, the enemy meant to harm us for good. And He has totally used every hurt that I've been through in life. And now I'm in a recovery program, a Christ-centered recovery program for people with hurts, habits, and hang-ups, because, we all have that. Christians have that. And, a lot of people think that Christians are not supposed to have those hurts, habits, and hang-ups, but we do. So now, that's just one way. And there's so many other ways that I'm able to be able to identify with and comfort other people that are going through stuff, and not just think, because it's easy for us to see someone who is, in a bad spot and just say, oh, thank God I'm not there, or, how could they do that? But when you've actually experienced something, you realize that nobody intended to get up and, start sinning. Nobody intended to have their life go down an ugly path and be, homeless or, jobless or whatever on the streets. Nobody intended to be like that. But some of us get there, and, through, like I said, a set of circumstances where things hurt us, or we hurt ourselves, or whatever, and we end up in a place that we never imagined we'd be. And I'm just so grateful that God loved me enough to bring me out of there, so that I do have a testimony to say, through Christ, He never left me, He never forsook me, but He did let me come to the end of myself. He did give me enough space to experience the misery of the choice that I made to follow. I chose to follow that path, and He let me experience the consequences of that sin. He let me feel that, like I said, that spiritual emptiness, like just spiritual aloneness, where I was able to say, okay, I'm ready to see what You have to offer. And, like I said, as sorry as I am that it took me that long, I'm just so grateful that it was there for me, and that I was able to come back and be able to say, yeah, thank You for never leaving me. Thank You for always being there. And I'm grateful for having this evolving, basically understanding of who He is to me. And basically that's a loving Father that never leaves me, never forsakes me, and, uses all the mistakes I make, for His good, because I'm His, and that's that grace thing that I'm figuring out. I'm His child no matter what. And I'm going to make mistakes, but He's going to love me. And, once I can get a hold of that realization, then it just makes being a Christian a lot more fun, instead of, you can't do this, you can't do that. But, God's going to love us no matter what we do, and He's going to help correct us. So, anyway, thanks for listening.